Hi everyone. So I'm making this video about the song Coney Island by Taylor Swift. It's a little bit of an analysis as well as like my thoughts and reactions on certain things. And the reason I'm making this video is because I think it's a really, really underrated song of hers. It really didn't get a lot of airtime on the radio. She doesn't really perform it at any of her shows. I think she did it on one Eras tour, but as the surprise track. But it is a beautiful song. It's almost really hauntingly beautiful. It really showcases her talents as a lyricist. And I think like the melody, while it's a little bit slow, it is also just like extremely haunting and extremely beautiful. And I think it also perfectly captures the feelings at the end of a relationship, the regret, the feelings of coldness, the isolation, the desolation, all of that. So first, a little bit of background on the track. It was from Evermore, her 2020 album. She actually wrote it with Joe. We all know Joe, her ex-boyfriend, and The National, which is an indie rock band. So that's kind of important to keep in mind. And then we're also going to talk about the setting real quick, which is the song is called Coney Island. It takes place on Coney Island, theoretically. Apparently, she says that she's sitting on a bench, thinking about this past relationship or relationships. We'll talk about what those are in a second. And Coney Island, a lot of you probably know this, but it's an amusement park in Brooklyn. It's actually like at the end of Brooklyn. If you've ever, so I used to live in Manhattan, so I'm pretty familiar with it. There are a few trains that go from Manhattan to Brooklyn, and Coney Island is the last stop. That is important to keep in mind because it's almost like she's at the last stop of their relationship, like it ends there, and she's looking back. Coney Island's really fun. I've actually never been there, but I know a lot of people who have. They've been on dates there, and it's also a really great spot for families because there's rides, there's games, there's prizes, there's popcorn, hot dogs, ice cream, all of the works. Like pretty much anything you think of like a really cool carnival or amusement park, that's Coney Island. Which is kind of funny that like that's what this song is about because it's a really sad song, but we're going to get into it. I think this song could represent a lot of relationships. Um, I think it's a direct reference to people that for particular people she's dated in the past, as well as a relationship to her fans. So let's get into it. Okay, so it starts with break my soul in two, looking for you, but you're right here. If I can't relate to you anymore, then who am I related to? That is really powerful because it's almost like she's saying, if like if I can't relate to you, like who am I? Like you were like my family, so I don't know who I'm related to anymore. And a lot of people have speculated that this song could also be about her relationship to her fans, because at this point in her career, it was like 2020, she felt like she had lost her way a bit and she felt a little bit disconnected from her fans. They like no longer, a lot of like her diehard original fans, like the OGs, no longer could relate to her and her music because of the type of music she was producing. So I think she's sharing some regrets and sadness about that. But of course, it could also be about a romantic relationship. And then she said, and if this is the long haul, how do we get here so soon? Did I close my fist around something delicate? Did I shatter you? So she is definitely taking responsibility somewhat for the end of this relationship. Like she's saying, I had something so fragile and delicate, and I closed my fist around it and I shattered it. Also, this concept of like thinking she was in it for the long haul, whether that was like with her fans or in this romantic relationship, and then it ended, and she's like, she's not wasn't expecting it to end this soon. Like, how did we get here so soon? Okay. And then she says, and I'm sitting on a bench in Coney Island wondering where did my baby go? The fast times, the bright lights, the merry-go. Sorry for not making you my centerfold. So if you don't know what a centerfold is, which a lot of you probably do, but a centerfold is the in the center of a magazine, like in the middle, there's the right page and the left page, and they kind of go together. And it's almost like a very main prominent feature of the magazine. So like being in the centerfold is a big honor. It's like it's a big deal. And she's saying, I'm sorry for not prioritizing you effectively. I'm sorry for not making you the center of my life. And then we have this line, and it gets colder and colder when the sun goes down. So you can almost like, as you're listening to the song, you can almost feel the coldness and the darkness that she's talking about, like the sadness. Like here she is at this really happy place, Coney Island, sitting on a bench, like reflecting on their past relationship. Okay, so that was Taylor's verse. And now we get into the Nationals verse. And he says, the question pounds my head, what's a lifetime of achievement if I pushed you to the edge, but you were too polite to leave me? So he's almost saying, like, what's the point of accomplishing anything in life if I don't have you by my side, if I pushed you away? Like, it's a little bit similar to her asking, if I can't relate to you, then who am I related to? Like, they're both questioning these things. Don't really see the point of being where they're at in life without being connected to that person or those people. And I really like this line. And do you miss the rogue who coaxed you into paradise and left you there? It reminds me a little bit of the getaway car, where this idea that like these two people were committed in this thing together, committing this crime, Bonnie and Clyde, as she says in the getaway car, and then one person betrays the other. So like the rogue who coaxed you into paradise and left you there, I think could be a reference to that song. And then we have, so, oh, I love this line too, because we were like the mall before the internet. It was the one place to be. The mischief, the gift wrap suburban dreams. Sorry for not winning you an arcade ring. So I like the reference to the mall because it is so true. Like malls are really sad now. Like there's nothing going on. There aren't even too many traditional malls that actually exist. But if you were like a teenager in the 90s or early 2000s like me, that was the place to be. Like you would go hang out with your friends, you would get food, you'd walk around, feel really cool. But now it's like kids aren't doing that anymore. They're just like, I don't know, chatting on the internet, on Snapchat, whatever. And then this idea of sorry for not winning you an arcade ring, it's another, it's almost like sorry for not making you my centerfold. Like I'm sorry that I didn't try hard enough. I'm sorry that I couldn't give you what you wanted. Maybe an arcade ring is actually like a reference to an engagement ring or something like that. Like basically, I'm sorry for not putting in the effort that I should have. Okay. And now this next verse is where I think it gets pretty spicy because I think that she is directly referencing four people that she's dated in the past. We're going to get into who those people are. So we have, were you waiting at our old spot in the tree line by the gold clock? Did I leave you hanging every single day? That's pretty generic, like could be referenced to anything. And then it says, were you standing in the hallway with a big cake? Happy birthday. So I think that that is a direct reference to Jake Gyllenhaal because in the song The Moment I Knew, it's all about when he didn't show up to her birthday. This also was referenced in the 10-minute version of All Too Well. You know, the whole line, it's supposed to be fun turning 21. He wasn't there at her birthday. Her dad noticed that she was watching the door all night waiting for him to come and he never showed up. So obviously that made her really upset. But this song is saying, were you actually there? Like, were you standing in the hallway with big, hey, happy birthday? Were you outside waiting for me? And like, there's some regret about that. Like, maybe I didn't give you a chance. Maybe you actually were there. And then, so that's about Jake. Then this next line, did I paint your bluest skies the darkest gray? That's about John Mayer because in Dear John, which is obviously about John Mayer, his name is in the title, she says, you paint me a blue sky and then go and turn it to gray, a universe away. And when I got into the accident, the sight that flashed me before me was your face. So we know that Taylor and Harry got into a snowmobile accident. And they say like when your life flashes before your eyes, whatever you're thinking, whatever you're seeing is like the most important thing. So she's saying like, and when I got into the accident, the sight that flashed before me was your face. Like you really were that important to me. Maybe there's some regret about ending it because this person was so special to her. And then, okay, so this makes me laugh a little. But when I walked up to the podium, I think that I forgot to say your name. That's a reference to Calvin Harris because when he won a VMA, he didn't thank her. And she was his partner at the time. She was supporting him. She was there for him. And she was like pretty hurt by this. But now she's saying, I think that I forgot to say your name. Like, she forgot to say his name. And I think this is kind of funny because whenever she talks about Calvin Harris, it's like, oh, I forgot that you existed. I like forgot about you, which is like really funny because I forget that she dated him too. Like I always forget that. So that just made me laugh. And then I like the way this ends, this way this song ends. There's a few lines after that, which I don't really need to break those down because they're pretty self-explanatory. It's getting colder and colder. The sun goes down. And then at the end it says, sorry for not making you my centerfold. So again, this idea of like, I'm sorry, I didn't try hard enough. And it's a beautiful song. I watched a recording of her doing this on the Eras tour, and it was amazing. It was it was so silent because a lot of people were commenting, being like, "Oh, this crowd did not deserve Coney Island." Like I would have been belting it out, and yeah, I also would have been belting it out. But I also think it's a song that you don't like shout it out. Like it's not a power ballad. It's like you just take it in. So beautiful. I know, beautiful song, really underrated. I love it. Let me know what you think. Like, comment, subscribe.